Hello. Hello.
স্যার আহিছে আপনি সঞ্জিত স্যার আপনি আরম্ভ কৰিব পাৰে
বলে আইছে না
ঠিক আছে আহিছে
এটা ক্লিয়ার আছে
ঠিক আছে ক্লিয়ার আছে
ঠিক আছে তাহলে একটু প্লাই মই কৰি আছো
ঠিক আছে
ঠিক আছে
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Today, here we are for national webinar on biodiversity loss, restoration, and conservation strategies, organized by Department of Botany, Dhing College, and Department of Zoology, Sipajhar College, in collaboration with Eco Club, Dhing College. Respected Dr. Biman Hazarika, Principal, Dhing College, Inaugurator Dr. Pradeep Chandra Deka, Principal, Sipajhar College, our esteemed resource person, Professor Bijoy Nyog, Department of Life Science, Dibrugarh University. Participants from different parts of India, faculty members, students, and audience. I, on behalf of organizing committee, national webinar on biodiversity loss, restoration, and conservation strategies, welcome you all, and I hope your participation will be helpful for everyone. Now, I request Dr. Biman Hazarika, Principal, Dhing College, to give the welcome address. Biman Hazarika, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the second webinar of Department of Botany of our college. I welcome you all to today's webinar being organized on a very pertinent and important topic, biodiversity loss, restorations, and conservation strategies. At the outset, I would like to welcome esteemed resource persons of today's webinar, Professor Bijoy, Department of Life Sciences, Dibrugarh University. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Pradeep Sandabeta, who is going to inaugurate this webinar. He is the present principal of Sipajhar College. Not going into details of today's webinar and its topic, I would like to shed little light on what is biodiversity and what is biodiversity loss and how one could restore biodiversity aspects. Biodiversity means variety of life on Earth at all levels. And world is being threatened by the loss of biodiversity that imbalances world atmosphere and geocircumstances. Extinction of different species worldwide as well as local area is really heartening and dangerous scenario. So, if you look into the conservation strategies which can be taken up by various agencies, government organizations, and institutions. And for these government legislations, nature preservations at all levels, restorations of habitat, captive breeding and seed banks of different species, reduce invasive species are suggested. So without spending much time, I again welcome you all to this particular webinar being hosted by Department of Botany, Dhing College, and Department of Botany and Life Sciences, Sipajhar College. Welcome you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I, on behalf of organizing the thank Dr. Biman Hazarika, Principal of Dhing College, for his welcome address. Now I straight away would start the session, and for this I now request Professor Bijoy to deliver his lecture. So before delivering his lecture, good morning, Bijoy.
Good morning.
Before delivering his lecture, good morning. So before delivering Bijoy's lecture, I would give you a brief description about Professor Bijoy of Dibrugarh University. Professor Bijoy has done his Masters in Botany from Guwahati University and PhD in Life Sciences from Dibrugarh University, Assam. A postdoc fellow from Southwest University, Chongqing, People's Republic of China. Dr. Niu joined as the assistant professor in the Department of Life Science 1994. He has expertise in cytogenetics and plant breeding. Besides, he has also interest in conservation biology, biochemistry, and molecular biology. Dr. Niu is keen in doing research in indigenous and lesser known minor fruits of Northeast India, and he successfully completed several major research projects funded by various agencies such as UGC, DBT, ICMR, SERB, ASTEC, etc. Dr. Niu was awarded prestigious Chinese government scholarship to conduct his postdoctoral research in conservation biology in Southwest University, Chongqing, People's Republic of China, where he developed a digital database of Jinyun Mountain, Beibei, again from People's Republic of China. He has more than 55 research papers and book chapters to his credit. He is also members of various national and international scientific societies. Presently, Dr. Niu is a professor in the Department of Life Science, Dibrugarh University, Assam. So here's a brief resume about Dr. Bijoy Niu. Now, I request our respected resource person, Professor Bijoy Niu, to start his deliberation. And I hope you will get a lot of information from his deliberation. And one more announcement I would like to make before Bijoy Niu starts. If you have any questions, you can write it in the chat box, and after his deliberation is complete, we will try to get the answer from our resource person. So please, Professor Bijoy Niu, you can start your deliberation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Nath, and for your introductory part. I'd also like to thank Dr. Biman Hazarika, Department of Botany, the principal, Dhing College, and Dr. P.C. Deka of Sipajhar College for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. So I'll directly go to the my presentation. Okay, can you see it, Dr. Nath? Hello?
Yeah, we can see it clearly.
Okay, okay. So I'd like to start with this first slide. I'm going to deliver the biodiversity loss, restoration and conservation strategies. Okay, as Dr. Biman Hazarika has already said, the meaning of biodiversity is not only the conserving the different life forms found on this earth, but to see the prioritized species also sometimes. So it requires a lot of strategies, restoration strategies, as well as the conservation. As you know, we have as you know, we are having the different kind of species, different kind of subspecies and varieties also, and ecotypes, and a lot of species And this picture was taken in the Namdapha Reserve Forest. Tiger project is there in Arunachal Pradesh, and that is one of the hotspot for the butterflies, and so many colorful butterfly of different species are there. Just to say, the biodiversity or the biological diversity is an umbrella term. Under this, you can include any form of life. So important thing is that it was long back in 1926 when Vavilov classified the different centers of germplasm origin, centers of origin, and centers for genetic diversity also. And among these, if you see the second one, the Indian Center and Indian Malayan Center, these are two very important sites, and we fall under this category that but Mega Biodiversity Center is also there in our region, especially the northeastern region, the Himalayan foothills, and that area is also under this region. It harbors a lot of different kind of animals, different kind of the forms of animal. It means the genetic diversity is incredibly very high. Lot of, if I say a life form, it means that it must have some kind of genes on it, and the diversity of gene also represent the by diversity of that biological resources. So as you know, as you know, this is the variety of life and its processes as described in the Keystone Center. And biological diversity is an umbrella term. We have the genetic diversity, we have the species diversity, we have the ecological diversity also. It means that we have, especially I'm referring to the northeastern region, lot of ecological diversity where it harbors a lot of biological form. So under biodiversity, this the terms are frequently used under the photographs. Anyway, we frequently say that we are on a hotspot. We are sitting on a hotspot. And what is hotspot? It was Mayer 1998 who described the 21 hotspot in the world on the basis of endemic species richness. And today we have the 34 biodiversity hotspot. Now question is, what is endemic species? So the space is restricted to a particular region only, particular area only. It's called the endemic species. It means you cannot find that species in other areas. Maybe 2-3 areas it may include, but very restricted to a particular area. For example, the rhinoceros unicornis, that is restricted to this area only. So that is also one of the endemic species to Assam. Similarly, and 46% of the total world flora is endemic and found in the hotspot areas only. Now, the question is why hotspot areas are under threat. It means they are threat because they have diverse habitat types, unique range of habitat types. Means there are a lot of diversity and there is a continuous struggle for survival and of different species. That is why they are under imminent threat. Also, they have very specialist species, endemic specialist species that is adapted to a specific edaphic condition only, and that edaphic condition is controlled by the different factors like the soil condition, the rainfall, humidity, the microbial interaction, and so many things are involved there. So These species only grow on that particular area only. Similarly, the important gene pool, these hotspots are also important gene pool. When I say the gene pool means the total number of genes present in a particular species. It may be the beneficial genes, or maybe the deleterious genes, or maybe not economically viable genes, but they constitute a gene pool. So coming to the another point, why I am taking this indigenous knowledge system or our traditional heritage to this point for the conservation or taking the strategies. India is known for its very rich heritage of biological diversity, as all of you know, and it's having almost more than 91,000 species of animals and 46,000 species of plants and biological different geographic region. Similarly, more than 6,500 species local plants are used prominently in the indigenous healthcare system. So this is a recorded plant species anyway. Now this slide. Okay, we have, as you know, that Assam and adjacent Southeast Asia is completely dependent on the rice cultivation, and the rice is the staple food in our region. Similarly, pulses, fruits, and different species, and they have also the wild relatives. Wild relatives means they are not economically viable, but they exist as a relatives of the a particular species. These are also very important because these wild relatives or the distant species, they contain certain genes. They contain certain area, I mean the characters, which may be useful for the cultivated varieties in near future. For example, rice is frequently attacked by some kind of diseases, and we can find this disease resistance character from the wild species, and that character can be transferred to the cultivated varieties of rice through breeding or some other techniques or recommending DNA technology. This is possible nowadays. So protecting wild relatives are also very important. Is it audible, Dr. Nath? Hello?
Yeah, it's audible.
Okay. So,
Clearly audible.
So why we are losing the genes? That is very important thing. We should understand that mostly because of the urbanization. Modernization is another cause of gene erosion. Gene erosion means like soil erosion. We are losing genes from the nature. The same way, once the gene is lost from this art, we cannot take it back to the art, because till date we cannot synthesize a new gene for using for mankind. We are only modifying the genes. For example, the genetically modified crops, these are the modification we have done with the genes only. All the characters are controlled by ATCG, the adenine time, the nitrogenous basis, but still we do not know how to prepare a new gene, new life form. Therefore, once a gene is lost, it's gone forever. It cannot be taken back to the nature. Similarly, monoculture is another region. The monoculture means the cultivation of a single species. Besides rice, we are cultivating tea, especially if you see the Upper Assam, we are cultivating only tea. A lot of jungle has been cleared to cultivate tea only. And tea, its scientific name is Camellia sinensis, and it has 2-3 variants, and we are cultivating these varieties only just for the economic purposes. And along with the tea, we grow on some shade trees. in that way, lot of species, lot of wild species, lot of endemic species or the specialist species are also destroyed. And fossil fuel exploitation is another reason that when we when we develop a rig to take out the oil from the soil, it destroyed the adjacent area, and for a long time, for several years, it will remain infertile. That is another reason the scientist has expressed that concern for the oil rig and the exploitation of fossil fuel in the biodiversity hotspots also. Instead, again, we have introduced some foreign flora. This is possible also applicable to the animals also. Different type of varieties of fish and other animals have been introduced just to meet the demand of increasing population. But in case of foreign flora, there are a lot of plants and plants that has been introduced in the hotspot or the biodiversity hotspot area, just to have for their faster growth and other things. For example, eucalyptus, for example, acacia. These plants are not native to our place, and mostly from the advanced, from Australia and other countries, they were introduced. But it has become a part of our biodiversity nowadays. But it also competes with the local flora, and that is another reason. And some of other plants like Arzimon mexicana and some there are some herbs also that are also being introduced to this area, and it has become rich in competing with the cultivated varieties. A lot of flora and fauna has been overexploited for their aesthetic value or the medicinal value, and this is called biopiracy, and a lot of fruits, flowers, and other medicinal parts of plants has been already smuggled, and this is a common practice going on, though we have a lot of regulation, a lot of laws, and other implementation procedure is very slow. Anyway, climate change and desertification is another thing that is also a part of the threatened process. Developmental, as I said, the development dams and other things, hydroelectric projects, these are the very important thing, and these also think are matter of concern. New emerging biotechnologies, we are giving more stress to the biotechnologies or the in advance how to splice a gene and convert it to another organism to have that particular trait. That has also affected the traditional use or the conventional way of improving the varieties like plant breeding, animal breeding. This has also been has impact on the other processes. We have, as I said, the policy and legal administrative measures, but it will take some time to implement these things. You know, the IUCN has a category, this is known to you, the extinct and endangered, critically endangered, vulnerable, and rare. These things are the common thing we know, but we usually neglect. There are a lot of the orchid species, you know, in the northeastern region, and most of them are vulnerable because they are their germination condition is very slow. Orchid has become very rare. Some of species has become very rare. The major impact, the major cause of this the problem is that orchid seeds are very small seeds, smallest seed in the plant kingdom, and they do not germinate until and unless they're infected by some fungus or the bacteria. In that way, though they produce a lot of seeds, they cannot germinate. That is why another problem, and scientists looking into it. And conservation of orchids requires that there's a kind of tissue culture, and tissue culture of orchid is very popular nowadays only because of that. We can cultivate these seeds in the artificial medium in the laboratory condition. Okay, conservation strategies, usually the conservation is something like the ex situ and in situ. All of you know that in situ conservation within the natural habitat condition, they are allowed to grow in the natural conditions, and so that they get the environment, they get the eco-climate and the soil and other things. And there are some species which cannot grow, they need some extra care. They are conserved in the in situ condition, like in gene banks. We can have the gene bank, we can have the in vitro culture lab, I mean the tissue culture lab, and they need protection, and they need continuous attention, and that is why they're not in the habitat, natural habitat. They are cultivated in the outside the natural condition, and that way they can be conserved for several I mean the hundreds of years. Seeds, parts, and other things are also preserved. This is the conventional way how to conserve the germplasm. Now, I'm going to talk something about the I mean the software or some other databases which can help in conserving the germplasm in near future. And you must take the help of the indigenous knowledge system in this way. And most of you know the indigenous knowledge system is the knowledge system or the total knowledge I mean the practiced in a particular community. As you know, we have more than 500 ethnic communities in the northeastern region, and they always practice, they always rely on the biodiversity around them for their daily needs. There are a lot of places where there is no sign of allopathic medicines, and they are completely dependent on the traditional medicines. So indigenous knowledge system can play a very important role in conserving the biodiversity because they are rich biogenetic heritage. They take medicine from the living organisms. Also, it is a traditional knowledge. It's in their culture. It's they practice is their culture is I mean the handed over to the next generation, one to the another generation in a traditional way. And for some of them, it is a means of livelihood. That is why it is important. They make medicine with the available resources only. And if you know, more than 70% drug discovery based on the native medicinal plant knowledge. It is coming from the third world countries like India, Bangladesh, Africa, and something like this. And there is always a gene flow. The northern, the countries present in the northern globes are called the technology-rich area, technology-rich country, whereas our areas are called the gene-rich area. And there is a continuous flow of genes from the southern part of the globe to the northern part. So that is why the major drug discovery based on the traditional knowledge only. So it is a prospective field for the further research. The threat regarding the indigenous knowledge system is a hidden treasure. It's not in the written form, not in the book form, or not in the database like in the computer. and non-organized practice. Only a few person knows what to use, and they are very secretive. They do not usually share the knowledge with the common people because it is their livelihood. And scientifically, this knowledge is unexplored and unexamined. Okay, it means uh, the medicine works on some people, maybe it is, yeah, ineffective to other people. So that is the way we must validate. It is necessary to validate the things with the in the scientific way. No scientific validation has been done except a few plants. So that is why biopiracy is a very common practice. A lot of people comes and takes medicine, and they, since they are technology rich area, and they can find out the active biocomponent, active molecule, or the novel molecule present in a particular decoction of a plant. So important thing is, how can we record the indigenous knowledge system for conservation of biodiversity of a particular mega biodiversity region or the hotspot? So this is a process where we are working on the evaluation of historical as well as contemporary knowledge on the ethnobiology. How the people use the plants and animals for their medicinal and food and other way. Not only medicine, lot of probiotics are there, and a lot of plants are there which are very effective in the human physiology. These are also traditionally used, and now it has been established the probiotics from the traditional knowledge system. Similarly, it requires survey, collection, and documentation, and database. Okay, central government has taken some steps to collect the knowledge and the particular traditional knowledge system library, but it's not very effective, and the knowledge is very huge. You know, on the basis of this, once it is, you can validate uh, the uses of bioresources from the traditional knowledge system. We can have a, uh biodiversity-based enterprises. Okay, and it can give the benefits of the IPR to the indigenous people also. So just to begin with the conservation process, we need to have some biodiversity informatics, the taking help of the manage the biodiversity information in the computer way, or with the help of the computer. It's called the biodiversity informatics. Sorry. We need to have a integrated multidisciplinary knowledge base. Why multidisciplinary? It must have some components from the social events, from its community-based knowledge, from its scientific-based knowledge. So it requires lot of collaboration to discover a particular therapeutics. So data might come from the scientific exploration, what we do right now, or literature is also there, and we can visit, have some questionnaires to the traditional medicine practitioners, or there are some other databases also for the traditional knowledge. And ultimately, if you compile all the data, a new information will come out. Okay, this is, if you can see clearly, this is the different components of the database. It must have the chemical information, the chemical name, what kind of chemical is there, and how we have extracted the chemicals, what is the base of the chemical structure, then the species information about the family, scientific name, and what habitat, synonyms, and different kind of information, also taxonomical, and multimedia format we can use, and ethnomedicinal information, what kind of parts used, what time it is used, what quantity, and application method. These things are very important just to validate the traditional knowledge in a scientific way. It must have primary data, and secondary data. Primary data comes from usually the medicinal plants and the preparation method and other things by interviewing the practitioners, and secondary data is completely scientific, and it includes the taxonomy, phytochemistry, bioactivity, biogeography, etc. This is one of the medicine plant database that I prepared for the Upper Assam region. And remember, this is for not for all the bioresources, only the medicinal plant database, traditionally used medicinal database, and it is having the homepage, then about the medicinal plants, different names, and interestingly, you can find it in the Dhing University website. If you go to the life science department, the medicinal plants database is still there. This was a small project from the UGC, prepared long back, and with the help of the software like the MySQL and other things which comes with the MS Word and MS, these were used here, which comes usually as free software, and these were used to prepare this database. And we put the local names also, because one species is known as different synonyms or the local names. So sometimes people are confused with its real scientific name. That is why area-wise the local name is completely different. That is one of the very important points when we study the indigenous knowledge system or the traditional knowledge system. One of the species, the ponial, and its photograph is there. You can enlarge the photographs and see flowering time, what is the flowering time, and what kind of the chemicals are there, and its description. We included the Upper Assam only, and that is why a little bit about the different districts and the important milestones and these things has been also included there. We had a feedback form, and one can contact me and give me some the information regarding the local species found in a particular area that we might have missed. So this is the administrative form and feedback form. So it is a kind of writing a book in a digital form, similar to the book. You can publish, you can revise book after 5 years or 2 years, 3 years. It is a tedious task, but for this one digital book, you can make it very easily and quite easy. Interaction is also very easy. Along with that, we included the digital herbarium seeds. We collected some of the species, and that herbarium is maintained in the Dhing University, and we took photographs, and nowadays from anywhere on this globe, this digital herbarium can be checked, and it can be compared with the collection if somebody has made. The benefits, this is a very small step This is a very small step towards the conservation of the species. I'm not talking about the prioritized species, important species, all the species present in a small area. And being a member of Biodiversity Board, I can tell you this is a form of biodiversity register that we are preparing here for in Assam. So information is easily accessed by a touch of a button. And after someday you'll get the People's Biodiversity Register for Assam also. And by prospecting, once you get the information about a particular plant, you can go for the biotechnological work or the bioprospecting. It can be a common platform for scientists, researchers, and local communities. So this small step can help the environmental decision process. Policymakers also, they can have the information, and ultimately action can be taken on a particular or the species. It means why I am telling these things, because in nature, in near future, the college or the university student take up a small project to take some photographs and have the description of a particular plant, and they can prepare a small project on the digital database of a particular area, particular jungle, or particular small area. In that way, we can compile the data of a subdivision, district, and other things. So it is very important. Once you must know, we must know what to protect, what to conserve. If we do not have idea there what kind of plants are there in a particular area, so it is useless to think about the conservation. Conservation is a broad term. So we must know that there are some prioritized species or the specialist species. That is why this database or the data about the plants present in a particular area is very important. You know, we have done some fruit species, uh, not these are called the lesser minor fruits or the lesser known fruits, not like apple, banana, and something like this. Some fruits which are very neglected, but always in our tradition. And we could find some species like Garcinia. You know what is Garcinia? It's Thekera, Ohomia Thekera বুলি কয়. Thekera species, there are several species of Garcinia, and which is very important for the weight loss. And we usually, traditionally, we take this the Thekera with as a mixture, as a refresh drink and something like this. This was used since time immemorial. And with this aim, I started working with the Garcinia species. We could find 7 species of Garcinia here in Assam, and we could also isolate the chemical that is important for our weight loss, and this is quite effective. We did with some animal experiments we done, and found that it is very effective in losing their weights. In that way, there are a lot of species, there are a lot of fruit species. I'm interested in the fruits only to find out the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory substances or antibacterial substances. So there are a lot of fruits there, that can be isolated, and the phytochemical studies are required. Most of the people, developing country, 80% of the developing countries, they take the herbal medicine compared to us, and I mean, the 25 to 35% of the American people rely on the herbal medicine. Similarly, the statistics, it is the old statistics, maybe it is too high nowadays. And US patents 49% on medicinal plants. It is based on the traditional knowledge system only. As I say, 60% synthetic drugs, allopathic drugs have roots in the medicinal plants only. By 2050, global market on the medicinal plants will be $5 trillion. And we are contributing hardly 0.4% of the total market, global market of $80 billion. Even China is quite going better than us. And so this is the economy of the total herbal medicine, plant-based medicine, and also the phytotherapy. Now people are rely on the phytotherapy drugs or the active component coming from the biological resources. Some of the common plant drugs, these are common, known. So with this, I thank all of you for patient hearing, and I again thank Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Nath, Dr. Biman Hazarika, Dr. P.C. Deka, and the Eco Club of Dhing College. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you, Professor Bijoy, for your resourceful and very useful, and I would say informative deliberation on biodiversity loss, restoration, and conservation strategies. And I think you have presented it in a very lucid manner, which could be understood by anybody or those who belongs to other branches of science or arts. Now, I also thank our participants for their patience hearing. So by that, I also request our participants to ask question to Professor Bijoy, and for this I request you unmute one by one, and if you have any queries or any question, you can talk to our resource person. Thank you, participants. So you can start now. You unmute one by one, and you can ask question to our resource person. Hello.
You're not clear, Patil.
Yeah. Anybody? I think there's a network problem.
Yeah.
So next,
Right.
Anybody else? If you would like to have any query or question,
Okay, you can collect the question and also you can mail to me. Okay.
so participants, I request if you have any question, you can write it to me. But Professor Bijoy, there is a question for you from the YouTube.
Okay.
So I am putting the question. I have written it from the YouTube.
Yeah.
So it was asked by Dr. P. Das Bora. It's for you, Bijonio. How much we should use Thakera for weight loss, or how is this Thakera is Garcinia is useful for weight loss?
Okay. Okay, interesting question. And you know, the Thakera or the Garcinia is unique to have a chemical compounds called ACA, hydroxycitric acid. And hydroxycitric acid found in very composed of elements only. Hello.
Yeah, it's audible. Yeah.
So hydroxycitric acid directly interfere with the you know, the fat producing process, and in that way it is a complicated process, but it interfere with the fat producing process, and in that way it stops the enzyme responsible for producing fats in our body, and in that way Garcinia is responsible for weight loss, and it has already been established. And you know, nowadays the Garcinia tablets are also available in the market, and lot of companies are working on it, and but actual dose of Garcinia is very important, how much dose is required, and we work with the animal model only, the Winter rat, and found that it is promising without side effect. Garcinia it can reduce the fats in the body. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So here's another question for you, Professor Bijonio.
Okay.
The Thakera, Garcinia means in Assamese we term it as Thakera.
Thakera.
So how many types of Thakera are found in Assam?
We have collected
Can you
6 types. We have
name
collected,
some of them?
yeah. If you see in Assamese, we can call the Kuzi Thakera, Bor Thakera, Rupohi Thakera, Kauri Thakera, and total apuna pray 6টা species moi paiso, kintu Kamrupor phale aru 2টা species ase boli moi gom paiso. He total mili 7টা ba 8টা species hobo pare.
So thank you very much. So participants, if you have any question or otherwise, we have almost come to the end. I think there is a question from somebody. Yes, please. Anybody? Yeah. Okay, there is a network problem. Hello. Hello. Yeah. If you have any question, you can ask DJ. It's not audible. There is a technical problem, I think. So here's another question for you, Professor Bijonio. Professor Bijoy, you have got another question. Is it audible, Bijoy?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Is it audible?
Yeah.
So another question to add to this Thekera, can it be cultivated now, or is there any information about Thekera cultivation or Garcinia cultivation in Assam on commercial basis?
Yes, it has some economic potential, definitely, but there is no organized Thekera cultivation in Assam, and you know that Thekera is used in many our traditional festivals and other processes, but there is no organized cultivation of Thekera, and that can be done undertaken by some people, by some farmers. And we have advised some people in the uh, Upper Assam, in the Tinsukia and the Tumtuma area to cultivate Tekela. Which are having the growth at the opposite and it can be a good market for them. The economically viable. But we don't have Tekela cultivation, commercial Tekela cultivation.
So, Dr. Professor Bijoy, very much thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if any participants have question, you can communicate with me. I will just deliver or send it to our Bijoy, Professor Bijoy, or directly you can communicate with him if you have any questions. Before we end up, Dipojyoti Soikia, HOD Department of Zoology of Sipajhar College, I would request him to offer vote of thanks. Dipojyoti Soikia.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
HOD
Can
Department
you hear me,
of,
sir?
yeah, it's audible.
Yes, sir. A very good morning to everyone, respected principal, sir. And hello,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
audible.
you are
Respected
audible.
principal, sir, and honorable speaker. Yes, yes, yes. On behalf of Department of Zoology, Sipajhar College, and Department of Botany, Dhing College, I take this opportunity to thank the persons who have given immense effort to this winner. I want to thank Dr. Biman Hazarika sir, Principal of Dhing College, and Dr. Pradip Deka sir, Principal of Sipajhar College, for allowing us to organize this winner. I would like to thank my respected speaker of today's session, Dr. Bijoy Nao sir, Professor, Department of Life Science, Dibrugarh University. His valuable and very rich deliberation. Actually, this is the need of the time that we go for the conservation, because we have seen many loopholes in our system due to the conservation deficiency. Actually, in the Northeast region, we must have a definite plan for conservation, because we are so much rich, but at the same time we are losing the species and everything for our uh, bad behavior. I would like to thank Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Nath sir and my colleague Mrs. Minumita Mohondo and Mr. Peter Kumar Kochi for their sincere efforts to make this webinar a success. Finally, I would like to thank I have forgotten to anyone, please bear. Now I would like to again thank you again in the future. I would like to end of this seminar. Thank you all. Sanjay Kumar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sipajhar. And it's last announcement before we end up. So you will be provided a feedback link. Participants, you fill it up, you will get the certificates. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Professor Bijoy.
Thank you.
So
Thank
we
you.
end up.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks so much.